Today, we're talking about what's happening in Tucson, Arizona with the newest development in Tucson, the Mosaic Quarter. If you haven't heard about this newer development, it is making headlines because it is rumored to be the first billion-dollar development in Tucson. Yes, you heard that right, with a B, billion. Massive project with a lot going on. And if you stay tuned, watch the rest of this video, I'm also going to share with you how this massive development is likely to impact the surrounding home values and property taxes. You're not going to want to miss that. Let's jump in. Hey, I'm Rich, and if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know all there is to know about lifestyle, real estate, and new builds in Tucson, Arizona, and surrounding areas, then you've come to the right place. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned in and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the very first to learn all that you want to know. So as I mentioned before, this is a very exciting development. The Mosaic Quarter. They just started this massive sports complex that's going to be comprised with a ton of cool stuff. If you're a sports fan, if you're a local to Tucson, you like competing in sports, then this is definitely going to be some very, very exciting news for you. In addition, it's going to have a lot of cool hangout areas. It's not just going to be for sports fans. It's going to be a very vibrant and happening place to be for sure. The Mosaic Quarter is located off of I-10, so it's going to be super convenient no matter where you live, whether you live in Vail, Sahuarita, Rita Ranch, Central Tucson, Marana, Oro Valley. I mean, once you hit that interstate, it's right off of the interstate, and it's going to be very accessible to pretty much everyone in Tucson because of that. It's located on I-10 where Keno Parkway intersects the I-10 interstate. So a little bit of information about this project. It is 100% privately funded. Now, that's kind of a big deal because the first phase number one, is projected to cost about $420 million. And the cool thing for you as a local or someone who's considering living in Tucson, that means that there is going to be a $0 impact in terms of where your tax money is going. And the Pima County has not elected to contribute in that. That's also going to be a huge bonus because if you've got that much private investor money and capital coming into an area like Tucson, you can bet your bottom dollar that they have conducted extensive research to ensure that this is a play that is going to have a long-term goal that's met. They're not going to put close to $1 billion into a project like this if it doesn't have very overwhelming evidence that it's going to do really, really well and respond very positively. That means that Tucson, they have paid for the best economists and the best researchers that money can buy to be able to indicate what job growth is going to look like, what expansion is going to look like, what values are going to look like. So personally, I think that adds a lot of credibility to just what the Tucson market is poised to do over the next 5, 10, 15 years with this much privately funded capital coming in for such a large project. $425 million project. That's just phase one. There's future phases that are going to be part of this that I'm going to break down in this video. Now, with it being 100% privately funded, zero taxpayer dollars are going to be allocated towards this. And that's over the course of this 6-year project. So they're stating that it's going to take 6 years from phase one to the final phase of completion with all of the different aspects of this complex to be completed and the total budget to be very close to $1 billion, maybe even slightly over $1 billion if we look 6 years down the road. Now, the Mosaic Quarter is being built across the freeway from the existing soccer fields on Ajo Way and the Tucson Sports complex. So if you're familiar with where those are located, it's right across the freeway from that. And the state of Arizona has elected to participate in creating an underpass under the freeway to connect those two sports complexes so that you really kind of have like this mega complex where it's easy access to both without having to navigate across I-10. You're just being able to go under. Now, the first phase has broken ground as of October of 2024, which is really, really exciting. And for you sports fans, specifically you hockey fans, you're going to be really excited because in phase one, they are building an IcePlex. And that's going to consist of 2 hockey rinks. And I'm going to break down a little bit more of what that is. But also in that first phase, they're building what's called a field house, which is a massive indoor arena that can be configured with all sorts of different courts. I'm going to break that down in this video as well. But phases 2 and 3 are going to consist of a pavilion, including 10 to 15 restaurants, hotels. You're going to have patio spaces, outdoor spaces, all sorts of stuff. I'll definitely get to that as well. And they're going to build a scaled down field house called a Sportsplex. That's also going to have a lot of flexibility in how it's situated in terms of what type of sports and activities can be done within the structure. Now, the size of this project is massive. 6 years from start to finish. It's rumored to supply almost 93,000 jobs. 93,000 jobs. That is a massive, massive boost to the economy in Tucson. And I think with any project that big, you can bet that it's going to have second, third, fourth order influences in the economy, in the real estate, in prices. So it really is going to be a major hub in Tucson, located very, very close to pretty much everything with access to I-10. And when you pair this with what's going on at the University of Arizona Tech Park, which is located just a stone's throw away on the other side of the interstate, you've got quite a bit of project development, large commercial project development that is going on within a small area, all located on I-10 near central Tucson. So let's talk about phase 1, because this is really exciting. Since construction has started in phase 1, there are 2 major components that are going to be constructed. The first is the IcePlex. So for any of you hockey fans, anyone who's lived in Tucson for a long time might remember the Gateway Ice Center. That was like the only indoor ice place. You can't do outdoor ice in Arizona, as you might guess. But it was the indoor ice arena that we had. That closed down many, many years ago. I was young when it closed down. And, you know, I've lived here my entire life. My family's lived in Tucson for over 150 years. So I've watched, my family and myself have watched this town change quite a bit. And when that Gateway Ice Center went away, it was definitely a sad time for any of us that enjoyed hockey, enjoyed skating. And because of that, there wasn't really a good place for any of us hockey fans, any of us skating fans that wanted to get on the ice. The closest place was really up in Glendale, up in Phoenix. So that's another 1.5 to 2 hour drive, depending on traffic. They did open up an ice center at the Tucson Convention Center, which was renovated in the last 10 years. And they built out a really, really nice locker area, did like a couple $1 million remodel there, outfitted it with new stadium seats, and did a really nice renovation there. And then they started to allow league play. So that was some access, but it was limited. It was only 1 rink. It was very limited in the hours that you could use it. And they were also sharing that ice with the University of Arizona Wildcats. So that's our collegiate ice hockey team here in Tucson. So as you can imagine, still not an ideal situation. And any type of club hockey, it pretty much disappeared just because it was very limited space, and most people just opted to go up to Phoenix, which is a long commute. Also with this, there was some sad news this year in 2024 that the Arizona Coyotes, which is the National Hockey League team of ice hockey that's located up in Phoenix, is going to be relocating to Utah, I believe. And with that meant that their minor league team that was located in Tucson, the Tucson Roadrunners, is also going to be making a move out of Tucson and out of Arizona as well. So sad news for us hockey fans. However, this Mosaic Quarter is is poised to kind of right that wrong a little bit, because with the IcePlex, there are 2 full-size hockey rinks and over 3,000 seats in the arena that are going to be available. And because this is going to be dedicated much more to local club play, the accessibility should be significantly better. It's going to be probably the most accessible and largest ice rink that Tucson's ever seen. 15 locker rooms, 2 party rooms. It's going to have a pro shop and a team store as all part of the IcePlex. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention, which is really cool, is the University of Arizona Wildcats Ice Hockey Club is moving from the Tucson Convention Center to this IcePlex located at the Mosaic Quarter. And part of this is going to be they're starting a women's club team as part of the U of A hockey as well. So not only are we going to get to see guys play on the ice, but we're also going to get to see girls get out there and show us what they can do on the ice, stick handling, shooting pucks, having fun, and being competitive. Now, also part of phase 1 is what they're calling a field house. Now, the field house is 2 stories, and it's comprised of seats and essentially an arena, a flat arena. So if you've been to the University of Arizona football stadium, they're estimating that the floors, each floor will be about 25% larger than the floor at the University of Arizona football stadium. So that's pretty big, like massive actually. So it's 25% larger than that. And you've got 2 of those fields stacked on top of each other, all indoor, all climate controlled. And the really cool thing is that those can be configured in almost endless ways, from tennis courts to basketball courts, volleyball courts, indoor soccer fields, pickleball courts, 7-on-7 football fields, badminton courts, judo, dance, cheerleading. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And these are massive. So we're talking 8 basketball courts, 6 volleyball courts, 4 indoor soccer fields, 24 pickleball courts. So as you can see, it can host a lot of sports play. And if you're a sports person like me, if you like to spectate, if you like to get up there and play, either or, it's just going to be a fun place to kind of enjoy a Saturday or Sunday or after work. It's going to be fun to watch some of the tournaments come to town, come to Tucson, because this facility is definitely going to attract some more of the tournament style competitive play. So if you want to check that out, it's going to provide a huge opportunity for us locals to be able to go enjoy that. And in the future phases, which I'm going to talk about, you're going to have a lot more creature comforts like restaurants, lounge areas, maybe some shopping. So it's going to be really, really cool. With that, let's talk about the future phases, because there is phase 2 and phase 3 that is still stated to come. Now, I'm not exactly sure which phase is going to be what, but let's just say in phase 2, they're either going to do the pavilion, which is going to be their shopping area. And the pavilion is going to consist of 10 to 15 restaurants with lots of outdoor seating, so you can really enjoy the 6 months of beautiful weather that we get here in the desert. Also, it's going to have open pedestrian and lounging spaces, so it's a great place to come and study if you're a student. If you got friends and family in from out of town, might be a great place to enjoy some outdoor space, grab a bite to eat, lounge around, just kind of enjoy the outdoors and have a great conversation. Whatever you like to do outdoors, it could be a great addition to what you're already doing. And then they're also going to have a splash pad and playground for the kids. So those of you with kids, we just had our second kid recently. So I know our 3-year-old loves to be outside, especially when it's cool enough for mom and dad to handle it. And so another place with us to enjoy some water, like a splash pad, and then also having a playground that's going to be relatively close because we live in central Tucson. I'm super, super excited to get out there and check it out. And then the final thing is going to be the Sportsplex. Now, I don't really know if this is going to be the final 3rd phase. They might do the Sportsplex first. They might do the pavilion last. I'm not exactly sure, but the Sportsplex is going to be a half-size version of the field house, essentially with identical multi-sport capabilities. It's just going to be a half-size version. So it'll be able to house kind of overflow sports, and configurations. As we follow this project from start to finish, you're definitely going to want to stay up to date on what your property value is and how much equity you currently have, because it's definitely going to do some incredible things over the course of the next 6 years with this billion-dollar project coming to Tucson. Go to the description below and click the link for the free registration for our Equity Insight Report. That's where I'm personally going to put my 15 years of appraisal experience to work for you, crunch the numbers on your home, and give you an update every 6 months on how much equity you have in your home so that you can stay in the loop. All right, so the next thing that I want to break down is going to be how a big project like this is likely to affect your home value over the next 5 and 10 years, as well as your property tax. So first, let's just start with property tax. I know it's a question that a lot of you are going to have, and I'm getting that question from a lot of clients that we work with as well. So I'll just address that on the front end. In Pima County, your property tax is determined by what's called a limited property value. That is similar to what would be considered your market value, but it's assessed by the Pima County assessor. So they go through a little bit of a different process to determine what your LPV is, your limited property value. And it is a form of appraisal, but it's a little bit different than what, say, I would do or another certified appraiser would do when they come out to your house, do a physical inspection, take pictures, do specific market research for your home. It's much different than that process. They're using a more of a mass appraisal process. Think like Zillow Z-estimate version of appraisal. That's what essentially they're going to be doing. So you will get some differentiation between what your LPV is from the Pima County assessor and what your actual market value is. They can be related, they can be correlated, but usually they're going to be different. They're slightly different. I would say within 10 or 15%. Now, the LPV from the Pima County assessor cannot jump more than 5% per year. The reason that they have this stipulation is to prevent significant jumps in volatility in your taxes, your property taxes every year. So that's a good thing to know, because with a big project like the Mosaic Quarter that's going in, if you live in the surrounding area or you're concerned it might affect a larger area, now you have some confidence in knowing, hey, your limited property value, what you're taxed on, is only going to go up a max of 5% per year, which is pretty negligible in the grand scheme of things. I mean, that's historically well below, like historically, the real estate market in Tucson does more than 5% of appreciation year over year if you look at 10-year increments. So you're definitely living, I mean, that 5% is well below what most likely your market value is appreciating. So I would look at that as a homeowner in Tucson. I would look at that as a win, even with something large scale going in that could increase property values. The other thing that I was going to mention is if you're a homeowner like me, or you plan on being a homeowner in Tucson, I would be pretty excited about this, because the reality is because of the way this is set up, where your limited property value is capped at 5% per year, the amount that your home appreciates is not capped at 5% per year. If we look back at some of the big recent booms of appreciation that we've had 20, 30% increases in some areas of Tucson. So that means your value, your real value, went up 20 to 30%, but your property tax value only went up 5% max. So, that's kind of a win-win in my mind. Now, secondly, what I wanted to look at is how other big projects like this, big sports complexes, have affected other areas in Arizona. Because this is the biggest and first of its size project to come to Tucson, I couldn't find anything in Tucson when I was doing my research. So the closest area with other facilities and complexes like this that have been built were up in Phoenix. So let's take a look. The first one is the State Farm Stadium in Glendale. Now, that was built in 2006. That was right at the peak of a really, really booming real estate market. And after it opened, there was a significant spike in new development, including Westgate Entertainment District, which is part of that complex. And that led to a noticeable rise in home prices from 2006 to 2007. Now, that was all part of what was happening with the development, but also it was most likely in part due to what was happening economically and with the real estate market at the time. So that first year, we saw like a 10 to 15% increase in that area. But as you know, the market crashed not too short after that. And so it dropped way below that, pretty much giving back all of those returns. That happened in the first 5 years from that being completed, from 06 to 2011. But then 10 years, if you look from 2011 to 2016, the housing crash recovered. By 2016, the median home prices in Glendale were at or above the pre-crash level, and they were continuing to rise. So it definitely, this is just a kind of a case study of another area that experienced some huge development coming in like this. The second one that I wanted to mention was the Salt River Fields at Talking Stick. This is in Scottsdale, Arizona, built in 2011. And so in the first 5 years, there was a lot of steady growth. Scottsdale is regarded as a pretty affluent area, and the Salt River Fields contributed to a continued residential and commercial growth in the area. We saw median home prices in that Scottsdale area rise by 20 to 25% over that first 5 years. And that was partially due to the complex's ability to attract more tourism, spring training visitors, and just be a little bit more of a hub for visitors coming to that area. 10-year impact was much more sustainable. Home prices in Scottsdale continue to rise significantly, with a 50 to 60% increase from 2011 to 2021. So that area around the Salt River Fields definitely benefited from high demand, sustained popularity because of all of the drivers and all of the attention that complex brought in. And so if we look at these two things as case studies, I think that's very likely what we're going to see, barring what the market's doing. You know, there was some influence in 06, there's some influence in 2011 because the market is a constant living, breathing thing. But overall, we are seeing kind of a telling story of these big complexes having a very positive influence long-term over the property values in that area and in the general area as well. So there you go. Now you've got some additional insight to what we're likely expecting because of this big billion-dollar project that's going to be completed over the next 6 years. Also, I just want to remind you, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home in Tucson, I'd love to be somebody that you interview for the job because I take it very seriously. I know buying or selling a house is one of the biggest financial decisions any of us get to make. And so if you interview me, I'm going to show up, I'm going to act the part, I'm going to pull out my best and make sure that you are in good hands. You've got all of the resources, expertise, and knowledge that you need to get from point A to point B and be very, very happy at the end of the day. So I'd love to connect with you. Also, I want to leave you with an important reminder. If the dream is big enough, the odds don't matter. One of my favorite quotes, dream big. It's, at this point, if you're dreaming big enough, the odds should not matter and probably will melt away. There you go. Now you know exactly what's happening in Tucson, Arizona. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up to help me and the channel out, and be sure you're subscribed for more. Until next time, we hope to see you around the neighborhood.